Welcome, class, to lesson 8-8. Today, strong mathematicians can name and classify quadrilaterals based on sides and angles. You can take out your notebook, your pencil, write down today's date, the name of the lesson, and we're going to begin. Some of the notes that you've seen was kind of a little review. We have parallel lines. Remember, lines that are in the same plane that never touch each other. Perpendicular lines are two lines that cross that form right angles. We have an angle, right? Said two rays put together, how they're written, and the rays that they make up. We know that angles are measured in degrees. We have a right angle, which is 90 degrees. A straight angle is 180. We have an acute angle that's between 0 and 90, and an obtuse angle, which is between 90 and 180 degrees. Also a good refresher to get us to where we are today. And now, what is a quadrilateral? Well, a quadrilateral, by definition, is a polygon with four sides. So quad means four, lateral sides, so it's four sides. Adjacent sides are two sides that meet at a point. So if they're adjacent, they come together and meet at a point. So for example, A and B meet right here at this point. So here's A, there's B. So A and B are adjacent sides because they meet at a point. Opposite sides that are across from each other, they do not meet at a point. So if we're looking for opposite sides, then opposite sides, we have two sets of opposite sides here. We have A is opposite of C, just as B is also opposite of D. So you can pause the video right now, write down this information, help us out with adjacent and opposite sides, and also quadrilateral as we dive into quadrilaterals today. This is another thing we're going to copy. Really excited. We're going to copy all of the notes on the chart. This is going to be the way we break down the shapes and the differences between them. So you can pause the video right now. We're going to walk through some of the parts if you can't see them as well. It's not the best photo, but the photo I got right there. So you got a quadrilateral, which is four sides and four angles. So an overall big definition. And then inside of those are other things that could also be a quadrilateral, but have more specific definition. Next we go to is a parallelogram. What does a parallelogram have? It's got four sides, just like a quadrilateral, but then it also has two pairs of opposite sides parallel. That means the sides that are opposite, so this line and this line are parallel, and this line and this line are parallel. That's where the parallelogram comes in to play. So a parallelogram, we can also have it one step forward as we go down the chain. We can also have a rhombus. So notice a rhombus is a quadrilateral because it has four sides. A rhombus is also a parallelogram because it has two pairs of opposite sides parallel. So it looks very similar to a parallelogram, but what separates a rhombus from a parallelogram? This last part, that a rhombus has four equal sides, that from here to here, from here to there to there, and there are all equal sides. So that's what makes a rhombus, and why it's a little bit different than a parallelogram. Another type of thing, we'll look at another shape that looks probably very familiar, these last couple right here, a rectangle. A rectangle has four sides, which makes it a quadrilateral. A rectangle has two pairs of opposite sides parallel, which a rectangle is also a parallelogram. But what makes a rectangle different than a parallelogram and a rhombus is that a rectangle has four right angles. So in each of the corners where the adjacent sides meet, those are all right angles. And that's what makes a rectangle a rectangle. And we're on that last one on this quadrilateral side. We have a square. So let's break it down how a square. So a square is a quadrilateral because it has four sides. A square is also a parallelogram because it has two pairs of opposite sides parallel. A square can also be a rectangle because it has four right angles. And a square can also be a rhombus because it has four equal sides. Maybe it can't be a rhombus because it doesn't have those parallel things. But what makes a square that one? It's that extra part of the four equal sides and the four right angles. So that's why you have a square. So those are four shapes for sure you need to know: parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square, and the traits that make them special. So the last one that we haven't talked about yet is the trapezoid. So what makes trapezoid? Notice it has four sides, so that's what makes trapezoid a quadrilateral. But its trait that separates it from everything else is that it has exactly one pair of opposite sides parallel. So notice there's only one pair. So notice this side and this side are parallel. But you'll notice on the other one right next to it that this line and this line are not parallel because those are going to, if they keep going on, would intersect and cross each other. So those are the difference of our shapes right now. So I'm going to pause the video, really make sure you have a good chart and have that chart copied down because we're going to refer back to this chart a lot in the next couple of lessons. And now it says which sides are adjacent to each other. So I have two different quadrilaterals. Maybe you can identify what shapes they are. So what sides are adjacent to each other? Well, we can go through the adjacent sides. We have A and B are adjacent. Here, A and B are adjacent because they meet right here at this point. So A and B would work. A and D would work because they meet at this point right here. A and D would work on this one as well because they meet at that point. We also have C and D would work because they meet at this point, just like C and D meet right here at this point. And we've got B and C because they meet at this point, and B and C meet at that point. So in a sense, we're always going to have four adjacent sides because lines have to make the four sides of doing that. But now, which sides are opposite of each other? What sides are opposite of each other? Well, we think about opposites, they don't touch, which means we have B and D are opposites. Looks like B and D are opposites on these ones. These sides don't meet. And also we've got A and C are opposites. And A and C are opposites. They don't meet at a point. So notice how we talked about adjacent sides and opposite sides, and we can put those into an answer for you. So you can draw those shapes. We're down that information to help you with more understanding adjacent and opposite sides. Now we're going to take our information and put together a thing. We need to draw a quadrilateral. So a quadrilateral has four sides. That has exactly one pair of opposite sides parallel. What type of quadrilateral is it? Well, the first thing I'm going to think about right now is I'm going to go back to my notes that we had right back here. So it has four sides. Well, all of these have four sides, but it had exactly one pair of sides parallel, which leads me to say it's going to look just like that one. So the shape I have to draw would be a trapezoid. So that's why I take those good notes so we can look back. And a trapezoid. I'm going to do my best. So here's this one, and that right there, and that right there to make a trapezoid. Not too shabby. So that's the type of shape I would make. I would make a trapezoid based on the information I was given. Now we have a square is a rectangle. But a rectangle does not have to be a square. Explain why this is true. So why is a square a rectangle, but a rectangle not a square? Well, if you look at the traits, we think about this. A square is a rectangle. All right, but a rectangle, it does not have to be a square. So let's start off with a rectangle. What traits does it possess? So here's my rectangle. All right, it's got four sides. Check. So does a square, right? If we drew a square, and we have it right here, it also has four sides. So those will be the same. Does it have two opposite sides parallel, or two sides parallel that are opposites? Well, it looks like this would be true for this one, because it looks like this one and this one are opposites. So are these. It looks like the same thing. This would be true here, and this would be true there. So that would also be true for a square. The next one has four right angles. Four right angles. If we notice, these are all right angles where all of these corners, adjacent corners meet. The same thing as a square. So right now, a square and a rectangle have all the same qualities, but here's what separates and why a square can be a rectangle, because that's it for rectangle. There's nothing more. We've listed all three of the traits, but the square has one more. It has this one, it has this one, but the trait that the square has, can you guess what that is? You have it, got it. It's got four equal sides. And that's what separates why a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle cannot be a square. So that's just using your chart, looking through what do they have similar and what's that differentiating trait that separates one shape from the next. So right now you can draw a line in your notes, write down box 3, now your turn. Your goal right now, the first one, I want you to draw a quadrilateral that has two pairs of opposite sides parallel. What type of quadrilateral is it? If there's more than one answer, can you list all that apply? Because we know that a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square because there are other things that when you draw it, can also be some other shapes that could qualify that have two pairs of opposite sides parallel. Good luck. Another shape I like to draw is to draw a quadrilateral that has two pairs of opposite sides parallel, four equal sides, and no right angles. What type of quadrilateral is it? So good job drawing it, and then also labeling and identifying it. Good luck. And now what I'm going to do is I want you to draw this diagram out in your notebooks. Notice there are letters A, B, C, D, E, and F. You may want to put those a little more to the side of the line. But the big picture, because what we want to show you is that there are 6 words we're going to have on the next page. We're going to put those 6 words into this diagram. So this tells me that all of these right now in the box are going to fall under the A category. But then it looks like there's a B category and an F category. Then there's a C and an E, which are different, but a D can be both of those because they kind of share them. So you're going to draw this chart on your box. There'll be 6 words. You try to figure out what word fits into the boxes. And here are your 6 words. So using the diagram from the previous slide, fill in the blanks. You have quadrilateral, parallelogram, rhombus, trapezoid, rectangle, square. Remember, whatever word you put in D can also be a C, a B, and an A. Just like we know before, we know that a square can also be called a rectangle because it has the same traits. But a rectangle cannot be a square because they don't have the same traits. So good luck. I'm looking forward to see your diagrams. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to write them down or share them out. Also, if you have any strategies that you use, make sure you share those as well. And thanks again for another great lesson.